My name's Robert. I'm a scientist at the Vernadsky Research Base in Antarctica. Most people think life here is just cold, quiet, and boring, measuring snow, watching penguins, staring at ice all day. But what happened one night changed everything I thought I knew about survival. I want to tell you about the storm, the missing team, and how I came face to face with a polar bear in the middle of Antarctica. This was the scariest moment of my life. Life at Vernadsky is strange. You're surrounded by endless white. Days can last 24 hours, nights can last months. It messes with your body and your mind. I usually spend my days logging ice data, checking equipment, and monitoring the weather. But that day, the weather turned against us. The forecast had warned of a storm, but no one expected it to hit so suddenly or so violently. The wind began to scream. Windows rattled. Snow swept across the base like a tidal wave. Then the call came in. "Robert, the field team hasn't checked in. We've lost their signal." A group of 5 researchers had gone out earlier that day for ice core sampling. In this kind of storm, their lives were at risk. Without hesitation, I grabbed my emergency gear and set out. The moment I stepped outside, it felt like walking into another world. The storm clawed at me, tearing at my hood, blinding me. Snow whipped across my goggles until I could barely see. Every step was torture. My boots sank into drifts up to my knees. The GPS in my hand shook from the wind, but it was my only guide. Minutes turned into an hour. My mind kept repeating, "Find them. Find them before it's too late." That's when I saw movement in the storm. At first, I thought it was the team. But no, this shape was massive, lumbering. My heart dropped. A polar bear. It shouldn't even be here. Polar bears usually stay far north. But sometimes, hungry and desperate, they travel south on the ice. And now, one stood less than 50 feet from me. I froze. My body screamed at me to run, but my training echoed in my head. Do not run. Do not turn your back. The bear's dark eyes locked on mine. I gripped my flare gun, certain this was the end. But after a tense moment, it turned away and disappeared into the storm. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, but I knew it wasn't over. After what felt like an eternity, I finally saw them. Huddled together near a snow ridge, shivering, half buried in snow. "Robert, over here!" Relief washed over me. They were alive. But one of them, Mark, had a deep gash in his leg. He was pale, losing blood fast. We wrapped the wound and prepared to move. But traveling with an injured man in a storm? It would take twice as long. I looked at their faces. Exhaustion, fear, but also trust. They were counting on me. We started back toward base, leaning into the wind, supporting Mark between us. Then one of the team gasped and pointed. Out of the snow mist, those same dark eyes, the bear was following us. At first, it trailed at a distance, but I knew why. It smelled the blood. Every few minutes, it crept closer. The group grew restless. "Should we run?" one asked. "Number running will trigger it," I said. My voice shook despite trying to sound calm. Inside, I was terrified. The storm howled. Snow blinded us. But the sound of heavy paws crunching behind us never went away. Finally, it happened. The bear lowered its head, muscles rippling. And then, it charged. The ground thundered as it barreled toward me. My hands shook as I raised the flare gun. Before I could fire, one of the team pulled out his rifle and fired into the air. The crack was deafening. The bear skidded, growled, and for a terrifying second, I thought it would attack anyway. Then, slowly, it turned and faded into the blizzard. We stood frozen, breathing hard, knowing how close we'd just come to death. We moved as fast as we could. My legs ached, my lungs burned, but adrenaline kept me going. Every shadow in the snow looked like the bear. At last, through the white haze, I saw it. The faint orange glow of Vernadsky Station. We stumbled inside, collapsing onto the benches. Warmth surrounded us, but the memory of the bear lingered. Mark was treated immediately, and thankfully, he survived. As for me, I'll never forget those dark eyes in the snow. That night, I realized something. Science isn't always about data and experiments. Sometimes it's about survival, about protecting your team, about making it back alive. I faced a storm, I faced a polar bear, and I lived to tell the story. So if you think my job is boring, think again. This was Insane Job Jams.